Welcome to the Rugby Obsession Deep Dive. Before we even get started, I want you to make sure you subscribe to the Rugby Obsession YouTube channel and newsletter from the link in description. You really do not want to miss out on the incredible analysis coming up this season.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, the landscape of international rugby is shifting violently right now. And if you aren't paying close attention to the mechanics behind these coaching decisions, you're going to get left behind.
Totally. Imagine losing your commanding general just days before invading, the most hostile territory on earth. That is exactly the nightmare Dave Rennie woke up to this week.
Oh, it's devastating.
Right. So we are looking at this fantastically detailed breakdown from Planet Rugby, and the core of the issue is this. Dave Rennie has to name a brand new All Blacks captain for 2026 because Scott Barrett is officially out.
Yeah, facing 5 grueling months on the sidelines.
Exactly. So today we are unpacking the 8-man shortlist to lead New Zealand into one of the most brutal stretches of international rugby, specifically that upcoming tour to South Africa.
We really have to look at the sheer physical reality of Barrett's year to understand the gravity of this, though, because he intentionally stepped away, right? Taking a non-playing sabbatical to fix these lingering ankle and Achilles issues.
Which makes total sense for his position.
Precisely. If you are a lock forward in the tight 5, those heavy foundational anchors of the scrum your ankles and Achilles are your entire power source.
Yeah.
So he did the responsible thing. He missed the vast majority of the 2026 Super Rugby Pacific season to rebuild his engine.
And then the unthinkable happens.
Yeah. He rehabilitated, got his body right for the international stage, and then, literally his very first week back at full contact training, he suffers a serious back injury requiring immediate surgery.
Oh man, the timing is just devastating. He misses the home leg of the Nations Championship and the massive rugby's greatest rivalry tour to South Africa. Okay, let's unpack this. How much does a sudden leadership vacuum of this magnitude actually shake up Dave Rennie's master plan?
Well, it forces a total tactical rewrite. When a head coach builds a strategy for taking on the Springboks, particularly in South Africa, everything revolves around the tight 5. Barrett wasn't just wearing an armband, He was the primary line-out caller and the physical enforcer.
Because against South Africa, the set piece isn't just restarting the game.
Exactly. The scrums and lineouts, they're a psychological weapon the Springboks use to drain your forwards' legs and lungs, especially at altitude. So Rennie now has to find someone who not only commands absolute respect in the locker room, but can process complex tactical adjustments under that specific, suffocating physical pressure.
Right. You can't just plug the next guy on the roster into that role.
Not at all.
Now, you might be listening to this thinking, well, just give it to Ardie Savea, right? He's the obvious choice. And honestly, a few years ago, that might have been the end of the conversation. Savea and Codie Taylor are the heavyweights sitting squarely at the top of Planet Rugby's shortlist.
Yeah, Savea was the guy filling in as captain under Scott Robertson when Barrett was absent previously. He is the clear popular vote. Fans have been screaming for him to be the permanent captains since before the 2023 World Cup.
But wait, I get the popular vote argument for Savea. We know he's the people's captain. But does being massively popular with fans and players automatically translate to being the tactical rock Rennie needs against South Africa?
That's the million-dollar question. Savea brings a very specific type of leadership. He leads through undeniable physical example. Picture it, right? It's the 70th minute at Ellis Park. The altitude is burning everyone's lungs, and the team is pinned on their own try line.
He's the guy who just turns it on.
Exactly. Savea is the guy who emotionally rallies the pack and physically wins the impossible turnover. He's hunting the ball constantly. He doesn't shy away from the immense weight of the jersey, and his output never drops.
Sure, but popularity and effort don't fix a collapsing scrum in Pretoria. Does his emotional lead-by-action style actually translate to tactical problem-solving? Because if the Springboks are systematically dismantling your set piece, you can't just try harder.
No, you need structural changes. And you are hitting on the exact reason Codie Taylor is co-headlining this shortlist. Taylor operates in the absolute engine room of the team as the hooker.
He's literally right in the middle of it.
Right. He is the one throwing the ball into the lineout, and he is binding right in the middle of the front row during those agonizing scrums. Plus, he is part of the ultra-exclusive 100-cap club for New Zealand, and he's captained the Crusaders multiple times.
And the Crusaders are known for being super structured.
Renowned for their meticulous analytical approach. When South Africa is dominating the scrum, a captain like Taylor doesn't just yell for more effort. He analyzes the opposing props bind, He communicates with the referee about illegal angles, and he adjusts his pack's body heights on the fly.
Wow, okay, so Rennie is looking at two completely divergent paths here. Do you want the inspirational, emotional heartbeat of the team in Savea or the tactical set-piece architect in Taylor?
Yeah, it really is a stark contrast.
It feels like choosing between a brilliant motivational speaker and a master engineer when your ship is actively taking on water.
It comes down to Rennie's philosophical shift. We are seeing a move in New Zealand rugby away from the razzle-dazzle era of 2015 towards a necessary trench warfare mindset to beat modern Northern Hemisphere and South African teams.
Which Taylor fits perfectly.
He does. But placing the captaincy on a hooker who is already tasked with hitting every single line-out throw under intense pressure, that is a massive cognitive load.
Yeah, that makes sense. If Rennie decides that Savea is too emotionally driven and Taylor is too heavily burdened by Type 5 responsibilities, he has to look for someone who bridges the gap between the forwards and the backs.
Which leads him straight to the midfield.
Exactly, and straight to the Barrett family tree. We are losing one Barrett, but there are others. Real quick, though, before we dive into the brothers, I want to remind you to subscribe to the Rugby Obsession YouTube channel and newsletter from the link in description.
Definitely jump on that.
And while you're at it, drop your thoughts and opinions on these captaincy candidates in the comments. We really want to hear who you would pick. So let's talk about the brothers.
Right. The Barrett brothers offer a fascinating structural alternative. You have Jordie Barrett and Beauden Barrett, both possessing just massive international experience. Jordie has frequently been the designated vice captain when Scott or Ardie Savea skippered the side.
Even without the official title, he's a huge presence.
Exactly. While he hasn't held the official captaincy title in a test match, he is the defensive heart of the backline.
And Jordie is an absolute lock for the number 12 jersey. The only debate around him right now is who gets to play alongside him in the centers. But Beauden's situation is, well, it's completely different.
Yeah, it's tricky.
He is a world-class operator, but his grip on a starting role is far from secure. He is fighting off Damian McKenzie right now, and Richie McCaw is slated to return after the South Africa tour.
Which complicates things immensely.
Right. Beauden feels like the seasoned interim manager you bring in just to steady the ship for 6 months, while Jordie is the hotshot VP who is actually ready for the long-term CEO job.
That is a great analogy. The contrast in their security dictates their viability as captain. A center like Jordie leads by driving the defensive line speed. He dictates the spacing, communicates the traps, and sets the physical tone.
Because his place is safe, he can focus outward.
Exactly. Because his place in the team is unquestioned, he focuses entirely on those external tasks. Beauden, on the other hand, represents the ultimate stopgap. If Rennie just wants a calm veteran presence to get through this nation's championship without reinventing the wheel, Beauden works.
But handing the captaincy to the younger brother to replace the injured older brother while passing over the highly decorated middle brother, that adds a wild psychological layer to the dressing room, doesn't it?
Family dynamics in professional sports are always a variable. However, professional rugby environments are surprisingly unsentimental when it comes to hierarchy on the pitch. The bigger issue really is the long-term vision.
How so?
Well, if Rennie wants a captain to take the team all the way to the 2027 World Cup, selecting a fly half who might be sitting on the bench by November creates a totally fractured leadership structure.
Okay, so if the heavyweights carry too much positional baggage and the Barrett family dynamics are too tangled, where does Rennie look for that pragmatic trench warfare operator? This brings us to the outside bets. Patrick Tuipulotu and Quinn Tupaea.
Yeah, Tuipulotu is a 33-year-old, incredibly classy second rower for the Blues with 58 test caps. People often forget he actually led the All Blacks against Japan in 2024.
Oh, right.
He fits that non-flash, highly physical mold that Rennie is cultivating. He does the unseen, ugly work in the rucks and the mauls that wins test matches.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. How can Rennie possibly give the armband to Tuipulotu when he has such a harsh injury history? How can a captain lead if they are constantly on the physio table?
It's a very fair point. It's a huge risk.
And on the flip side, you have Quinn Tupaea, a highly regarded 24-cap leader at the Chiefs. But Tupaea isn't even a guaranteed first-choice center right now in a fiercely crowded midfield. Doesn't a captain fundamentally need an absolute lock on their jersey to be effective?
The mechanics of modern rugby captaincy absolutely demand positional security. You cannot lead from the bench, and you certainly cannot lead from the stands.
Exactly.
When a captain is constantly looking over his shoulder, worrying about losing his starting spot, It bleeds into his decision-making. He starts playing conservatively to avoid mistakes, rather than taking the calculated tactical risks required to beat a team like the Springboks.
It's the psychological toll. If I'm worried about getting dropped, I'm focusing on my own stat line, not managing the referee or organizing the defensive pod structures.
Precisely. Even if Tuipulotu stays perfectly fit, he is facing stiff competition in the second row, from young giants like Fabian Holland, Tupaea, and Sam Derry.
And Tuipuea is in a similar boat.
Yeah, for Tuipuea, one quiet game in the midfield could see him rotated out. Giving the captaincy to a player who might get dropped purely on form creates an absolute nightmare for a head coach, because dropping your captain mid-tournament destabilizes the entire squad.
Okay, so if the outside bets are too risky because of form or fitness, that pushes us to the final category, the long game, the 2027 bolters. Because Rennie is contracted through the next World Cup. He isn't just managing a 2026 crisis, he is building a dynasty.
And sometimes a massive injury crisis is the exact catalyst a coach needs to fast-track the future. That brings us to Wallace Sititi and Cam Roigard. These are the bolters, the unexpected young rising stars who could define the next era of New Zealand rugby.
Tell me about Sititi.
Sititi is just starting to spread his wings as a leader, having been set to lead the Chiefs for the very first time in round 16 of Super Rugby against the Blues. He is viewed as a prime, long-term candidate for the back row, possessing the natural leadership aura coaches just dream of.
And Cam Roigard looks utterly poised to dominate the scrum half jersey, just like Aaron Smith did for over a decade.
Absolutely. He controls the tempo, his box kicking is incredibly precise, and he dictates the flow of the entire team.
But wait, really? Throwing someone with almost zero professional captaincy experience like Sititi or Roigard into a South African tour, that feels like tossing a kid the keys to a Ferrari on the Autobahn. He might have the best modern skills, but does he know which load-bearing walls will collapse when the Springbok pressure hits?
I know, it sounds crazy. The tactical burden on a scrum half is already immense. They are the dictator of the game, managing the speed of the ball from every single ruck and constantly communicating with the referee.
Adding the captaincy on top of that for a 23-year-old is a massive gamble. Is Rennie bold enough to risk short-term pain for 2027 gain?
Well, you have to look at the philosophy of building a World Cup winning team. Rennie knows that leaders need scars. They need to have been dragged into the darkest, most hostile environments and forced to find a way out.
Wow. So you were saying there is actually value in letting a young captain fail in Pretoria today, so he knows how to win in Sydney tomorrow.
Giving the captaincy to Roigard or Sititi now means they get to make their crucial tactical mistakes in the 2026 Nations Championship, not in the knockout stages of the 2027 World Cup.
That is a brutal but brilliant strategy.
Yes, you're putting a massive amount of weight on young shoulders. But if they learn how to navigate the tactical nuances of referee management, momentum shifts, and altitude fatigue in South Africa now, they become practically invincible down the road.
We've mapped out some incredible dilemmas here. You have the emotional heavyweights in Savea against the analytical engine room leadership of Taylor. You have the secure defensive anchor of Jordie Barrett versus the veteran stopgap option of Beauden. You have the gritty but fragile outside bets. And finally, those audacious high-risk 2027 bolters in Sititi and Roigard.
It really highlights how complex the captaincy ecosystem is right now.
Definitely.
And Dave Rennie's open pivot away from flash players in favor of a harder, more pragmatic edge changes the entire lens through which we view this list. Given that philosophical shift from razzle-dazzle to trench warfare, this cruel injury to Scott Barrett isn't just a hurdle to overcome.
What is it then?
It forces a complete systemic evaluation. We have to strip away our preconceived notions of what an All Blacks captain has historically been and ask, what does the ideal captain actually look like in this completely new, gritty era of New Zealand rugby?
That is the perfect, provocative question to end on, and it's exactly the question I want you, the listener, to answer. Hit the comments and share your personal pick for the captaincy. Who do you think embodies this new era for the All Blacks?
Yeah, I am so curious to see who everyone picks because the options are just so diverse.
Absolutely. Make sure to subscribe to the Rugby Obsession YouTube channel and newsletter from the link in description.